Welcome to the BEASTwriter family. Dark side of BEASTwriter, where social media engagement is encouraged. I am your host, Ryan Sakamoto, and today we are going to be discussing the Las Vegas Raiders. There's a lot of things that we're going to be talking about as it pertains to that NFL franchise. Obviously, a new GM is in place, a new head coach is in place, a new coaching staff is in place, and also a new scouting department is in place. So when you take all those three parameters into consideration, the team and where their direction is in 2022 is going to be vastly different from where it was in 2021. Now we can say that about every other NFL franchise, but it's a little bit different on the surface. And then when you peel back layers of the onion to get to the core on all three of those layers that I just mentioned, it really has a significant impact on the team's cultural identity moving forward. So before we go ahead and get started, I just want to say mahalo and thank you to each and every one of you for subscribing to my channel. I just want to make sure that you turn on the bell notification so you guys get notified when I go live or when I upload content. So there's a lot of things we need to discuss, right? So we talk about the Las Vegas Raiders. We talk about how GM Dave Ziegler, if you subscribe to my BEASTwriter Plus newsletter, I talked about building the team from the inside out, not the outside in. And when you do that and you see the kind of moves and power play moves that GM Dave Ziegler and head coach Josh McDaniels are making, they're really sound plays, right? On both sides of the football, you know, down in the trenches. You look at Bilal Nichols, right? People are saying, who the heck is Bilal Nichols? Well, luckily you have me because I run the BWF grading system. I don't rely on PFF. I've been grading this guy since day one. And this guy, if you look at my tweets, check the Beast receipts, they check out. I said, this guy has Pro Bowl talent. This guy is the real deal, right? And I kind of liked him dating back to his time with the Chicago Bears, right? Here's a guy who really wasn't highly coveted coming out of college. And so here's a guy that's trying to make a name for himself, and he did in that 34 base defense. Remember, the Chicago Bears played in a 34 base defense. Now they're transitioning into a 4-3 front from a 34 base, right? And so when you do that, and then you look at their own issues that they have there, I shouldn't say issues, their own turnover, I guess you would say, with the Chicago Bears, when you have a GM like Ryan Pace coming from the Kansas City Chiefs, the Brett Veach tree, right? And how he likes to build teams from the inside out, not the outside in, former offensive lineman, as we know. And so he played the position, knows what he wants in identifying key players. Obviously, he let Akeem Hicks go on. He let a lot of these players move on. And Khalil Mack, we all know what happened there in the AFC West. But getting back to it, there's a lot of parts, right, that go into formulating my analysis. And when you talk about whether it be the Chicago Bears, whether it be the Las Vegas Raiders, whether it be the San Francisco 49ers, you have to really gauge and understand the dynamics of all 32 NFL teams in order to formulate their analysis on the team that you're talking about. Hopefully it makes sense. I think it makes sense. But we're going to talk about specifically the Las Vegas Raiders here in the DOB because that's what this is about. That's what this channel is about. So we're going to talk about the dark side of BEASTwriter, right? So we're going to go ahead and talk about what I feel the team is doing and the direction the team is going in moving forward as mandatory minicamp wrapped up. Obviously, the OTAs wrapped up. Now we're just gearing up for training camp, right? The coveted training camp. All right, so let's talk about it, right? And if you guys have any questions that you guys want answered, I know on Facebook, I know on Instagram, you guys have been hitting me up on a lot of different social media platforms. I will go ahead and answer those questions. I replied to some of you guys already. And also you guys were wondering how you guys can donate to me. There is a donate button. A lot of you guys don't subscribe to YouTube, which is funny. But if you guys do have a YouTube channel, there is a super thanks heart icon that YouTube has now given me access to. So at the end of the video, if you're not watching this live, mainly it's a podcast, right? Format. So you guys can go ahead and hit that heart icon. You guys can donate there. I also linked my Venmo in the description box below of every single live stream that I do. So you guys can feel free to donate there. And of course, all proceeds get funneled back into the channel, right? I got new equipment, got new audio. Obviously, you see the new intro. That costs a lot of money. I rebranded myself. And so here we are today, all right? So a lot of different, all that's not cheap, just FYI. But here we are today. I do it all for you guys. And when I say I really put my money where my mouth is, I put my money where my mouth is, right? So here we are, and we're talking about Dark Side of BEASTwriter. Let's start with Alex Leatherwood, right? Who is Alex Leatherwood, right? Alex Leatherwood is a guy who was drafted. And again, if you check the Beast receipts, basically checks out. He's a 17th pick overall back in 2020. I honestly didn't like that pick. I didn't like when the team... was it 2020 or 2021? I think it was last year, actually. I think it's 2021. Last year. What am I thinking? Yeah, it was last year. 2021, 17th pick overall, coming out of Roll Tide Roll, Alabama. Now, when it comes to Alex Leatherwood, I always felt that he was better kicked inside to interior guard. And I said it again, you can check the Beast receipts here on YouTube, my live stream. I ran grades on the entire AFC West before the, and people were like, oh, well, why you give the Denver Broncos an A and Patrick Tan? I was like, dude, Patrick Tan's a real deal, bro. He's going to be an all pro. He's going to get my vote for PFWA going into it. That's my preseason. Turns out the guy was a baller in my grading system. Anyways, getting back to Alex Leatherwood, I thought he was better suited to kicks inside the guard. A lot of things that I saw from him being an offensive tackle comes down to pass protection, right? You know, you talk about angle sets and you talk about these different pass protection sets that you're in and that you teach and the techniques that you're taught. With Alex Leatherwood, I just don't think he has the quick enough feet to kick slide outside. I just don't see it. And then you see that in his game in the first half of the season. First 4 games, right? Let's be fair. First 4 games before they kicked him inside the guard against the Chicago Bears, ironically. But I ran grades on Alex Leatherwood. Struggled as a right tackle, which is normal. I mean, right tackle Mike McGlinchey struggled for the San Francisco 49ers first round pick. A lot of offensive tackles, rookie offensive tackles have struggled. Left side, right side, doesn't even matter. They're going to struggle because it's a hard position to play. You're basically on an island. When you're kicked inside, you have help. And you can know where your help is. You have help from the center. The center's making the line calls. So you can kind of have some wiggle room there. But when you're stuck on the island going against these speed rushers, you better have good hand placement. And you better be low. And you better have a strong center of gravity. And you better have good contact balance. All these things go into it. And so when you look at Alex Leatherwood, and I grade Alex Leatherwood through the first 4 games, he struggled a lot, even for a rookie. However, when he kicked inside the guard, that's when the grades really impressed me. His grades really impressed me. In fact, he was graded at a near all-pro level, not Pro Bowl level, at a near all-pro level from weeks 5 to 8. And 2 of those teams who was playing in the AFC West, going against AFC West talent, and this obviously the Los Angeles Chargers. And you also had him going after the Denver Broncos, right? So you see these guys. And then if you want to peel back layers on the onion to get to the core, look what he did against the Philadelphia Eagles. Again, one of the top interior defensive line in the entire NFL. You have guys like Fletcher Cox, graded always every year, grades out very high in my grading system. Javon Hargrave coming over from the Pittsburgh Steelers back in 2019. Remember when I covered the Steelers from SI, right? I said this guy's the real deal. It's going to get paid in the offseason. And likely the Steelers aren't going to afford to keep him. What happens? He goes off to the Philadelphia Eagles, gets paid, and he has a stellar season, right? So you look at those guys on the interior and the matchups that you're seeing, kind of like when you take valuation versus evaluation on a college prospect. A lot of scouts, they don't look at specific, how do I say this? They don't look at specific, like, oh man, this like techniques in a sense, right? Because you don't know what techniques they're being taught. What you look for is the competition, right? You look at, is it 1A competition versus 1A competition, or is it 1A competition versus a lower school prospect, right? Is it like, I don't know, Tennessee Chattanooga, right? No shade to Terrell Owens. Or is it like a Hofstra? It doesn't even exist anymore. Is it like a Lance Schulters type of a deal? Is it a Gio Carmazzi type of a deal? Is it McNeese State type of a deal with Zach Bronson? You guys get the picture, right? So is it going up against that competition, or is it 1A versus 1A? When you see with Alex Leatherwood, it's going up against 1A versus 1A. Fletcher Cox, come on. Javon Hargrave, come on. They're not just household names. They're getting it done year in and year out. And when you put 2 and 2 together, and again, you can double down on those gains. Bilal Nichols, now a teammate. Again, he is a 2-gap space eater in his own right. Hard-nosed tackle, defensive tackle, who can really stack and shed with the best of them. He's a guy that I thought that Alex Leatherwood matched up extremely well. So when you run the grades, Alex Leatherwood, to me, is a Pro Bowl offensive guard. He's a Pro Bowl offensive guard. If you kick him out to right tackle, forget it. It's not going to work out. I'm just joking. It can work out. Obviously, I'm joking a little bit here, but I think his best suit is on the interior. And if you're fortifying the Patriot way, and what Dave Ziegler wants to bring the Patriot way to the Raider way, right? And we can talk about, oh, no, it's the Raider way. That we're not copycatting the Patriot. You know what? They take what they want from the Patriot way and formulate their own cultural identity to create the Raider way. Whatever, same thing. Okay, whatever. They want to formulate the best 5. And again, in order to establish the best 5, what do you got to do? Well, you got to do what Houston Texans GM Nick Caserio is trying to do with the Houston Texans, right? He wants the best 5 on the offensive line. Same scenario, because where does Nick Caserio come from? Bill Belichick tree, huh? So the Texans way, the Raiders way, the Patriot comes from, just call it the winning way. At the end of the day, as long as you're winning, I don't give a damn what you call it. But getting back to this podcast specifically, I think Alex Leatherwood should be kicked inside the guard. However, now I will say this. I do believe that Alex Leatherwood can kick outside to right tackle. I do think he has the skill set to do that. But at this point in his career, and it's still fairly young, obviously, right? He's only entering his second year. I think it would be better suited for him to start out in offensive guard. And the reason I say that is because you have Andre James there, who is kind of for all you Steelers fans out there, to kind of put a comparison. Is he as bad as Kendrick Green? I mean, I wouldn't say I would say they're comparable. No, let's be honest. Kendrick Green's a little bit better. But Andre James is young. He does have his mental lapses. But hey, look, you have Andre James there. You have a young nucleus to work with. This is still a young team. Alex Leatherwood, you just drafted Dylan Parham with their first pick in 2022 NFL draft, right? So that's 3 guys right there. And you want to create competition on the interior if you want to formulate the best 5, right? So you have Alex Leatherwood at right guard. I would keep him at right guard. Andre James, obviously the center. At left guard, I would have a 3-way camp battle between Denzel Good, who tore his ACL week 1. You would have also in that line of speaking, you have John Simpson. You would have Simpson there as well. I like John Simpson a lot. He started on the left side, liked him coming out of college. And then you also have Dylan Parham. So you have a 3-way camp battle there. And what you're doing there is you're brewing competition as iron sharpens iron. Doesn't matter what your draft status is, because we already seen that GM Dave Ziegler does not give a crap what your draft status is. Obviously, hence declining all 2019 first-round picks, 5th-year options. That's Josh Jacobs. That includes Jonathan Abram. That includes Clelin Ferrell. All right. So we all know how that goes. All right. So I am just saying that GM Dave Ziegler doesn't care about where you're drafted. You can be undrafted rookie free agent. And if you're outshining a first round pick, you're going to be playing, man, because he wants the best 5. Now we're going to have my man, Vinny Bonsignore, Raiders beat writer, obviously host of Raiders Nation Radio. He's also Vegas Nation reporter for Las Vegas Review-Journal. He's going to be joining us tomorrow live at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So we're going to be talking about all of these topics that I'm talking about now. And again, when it comes to the offensive line, I think that Alex Leatherwood would be better suited to kick inside based on my grading system. However, with that being said, I'm not saying, because I mean, he's still young. I'm not saying he can't be a Pro Bowl right tackle. I am not saying that. I'm just saying for right now and what I see on film. And again, I'm not at camp, but Vinny is. So I want to hear what Vinny has to say, because if he can shed some light on some things that I don't know about, because I'm not there in Henderson, right? I'm not there at practice, so I don't know what's going on. From the eyes perspective, all I can see is what I see on film and what beat writers are telling me. Would it be Tashawn Ree or Paul G or whoever the case may be. But based on film, and I'm running the film study, and GM Dave Ziegler and all them, they did this all before. So when they formulated the free agency list and they formulated what the needs are heading into the draft, they can look at it and be like, hey, look, okay, yeah, well, and then Alex Leatherwood said, right? Are you going to play right tackle? Oh, I don't know. He's like, basically he said, I'll play wherever they want me to play. And that, I like that, because it's a sense of maturity, but it also shows that he understands that it really doesn't matter where he wants to play. It's wherever the coaching staff is going to play him, right? He's not going to pull a Orlando Brown Jr. with the Baltimore Ravens once Ronnie Stanley went down from injury and say, you know what? I'm a blindside left tackle. So if you don't pay me like a blindside left tackle, I want to move, because I'm not a right tackle. I'm a left tackle. And then, boom, where's he go? Kansas City Chiefs. All right, so fortunately for the Las Vegas Raiders, Alex Leatherwood's not. I'm a right tackle, man. I'm not an offensive guard. I'm a right tackle. I don't give a damn if he's a beast as an offensive guard. I'll take that any day of the week. And beast by me, he's Pro Bowl offensive guard. I like Alex Leatherwood. Now he graded out not so well under PFF, but I don't have PFF grades. I don't rely on PFF. I have the BWF grades. That's all I care about. And so in my grading system, he grades out well. So we're going to see in 2022 where this pans out. But hey, I'm just saying right now, Alex Leatherwood, kick him inside the guard. I think that's his best fit. And if you team him up with Dylan Parham, you have Dylan Parham and then you have Alex Leatherwood. Those are two interior phone booth maulers that you can have success with Zamir White. Again, now we're doubling down on gains, right? We're talking about a two-headed monster. They drafted Zamir White, right, out of Georgia. And people are saying, well, why they drafted Zamir White when they already have Josh Jacobs there? Hey, Josh Jacobs, I'm a huge Roll Tide Roll fan. You guys know that, right? They're going to feature a two-headed monster because what is the Patriot way? A two-headed monster more times than not. Yeah, Corey Dillon was kind of the anomaly. Yes, they had guys like Lawrence Maroney over the years. But they always had the two, kind of like a two-headed monster at the running back position, right? Would it be a third down situational specialist coming out of the flat or a two down player thumper up the middle, So I like what the Raiders are doing because they're really saving the running back's legs. And Josh Jacobs, let's face it, the guy's a beast. If it was me, would I have extended Josh Jacobs' fifth-year option? It would be yes. I would, because I like Josh Jacobs. The production that he put up is amazing, right? In 3 years time frame, he has racked up 3,087 rushing yards and 28 touchdowns, which averages out to a 4.2 yards per pop. That's really good. I like Jacobs, but I also like Zamir White. I can see why they drafted Zamir White, because if you can get a little bit cheaper, right? If you can get a little bit cheaper next year, and again, this could also be a beast mentality mindset for GM Dave Ziegler and head coach Josh McDowell. Say, hey, no first round pick is safe. I don't care where you're not going to slack off here. You got to be in the film room. You got to be the first one in and the last one out. This is the Raider way. Work ethic, being the first one in, the last one out, doing what others are not willing to do. Everyone wants to eat. I said this earlier, and if you guys follow my Instagram, I burned 1,000 calories in under 60 minutes. How do I do it? It's all about having the beast mentality, man. I'm the Stairmaster. I'm telling you right now, people want the looks, but they're unwilling to pay the price. Same thing with the Patriot and the Raider way. You have to sacrifice something to gain something. You can't just want something and expect it to happen. You can't just have aspirations. You can't just have goals and expect it's going to be like coming out of the blue or coming out of your butt. No, you have to go out and grab it. You have to actually take the time, dedication, and discipline to do what others are unwilling to do. Because if it was easy, everyone and their mama would be doing it. But it ain't easy. It's not easy. And that's why I think that when it comes to the Raider way and what the Raiders are trying to do with GM Dave Ziegler and head coach Josh McDaniels and all these positional coaches, Antonio Pierce, loved his press conference, by the way. Loved all of them. They're all on the same page in the cultural identity. It's from everyone from Patrick Graham down to Antonio Pierce, down to the quarterback's coach. You talk about establishing everyone being on the same page where communication is key and of the utmost importance and doing your job. They are doing a very, very good job. I like the Raiders. I think, hey, do not sleep on the Raiders, man. I'm just saying, man, the Raiders are going to be freaking legit this year. And we all know they made the playoffs last year, but the question was popped. Hey, do you see them winning AFC West? I would kind of, you got the Chargers there. Chargers are pretty good. And they have a guy by the name of Russell Wilson now playing in the AFC West with the Denver Broncos. And we all know how I feel about that secondary that graded out number one in my BF grading system with Justin Simmons, Pat Surtain, and of course, you obviously have Kareem Jackson back there. But then the weak link is no longer a team, Kyle Fuller, right? Kyle Fuller to me was the weak link on the defensive unit of the Denver Broncos. But here we are today, all right? So when you talk about offensive line, we talk about running back position, all this is going to be covered with Vinny Bonsignore. And for those who don't know, follow my man Vinny on Twitter. He actually pointed out some good points. He tweeted out some good stuff. Josh Jacobs was not even practicing. He wasn't even on the on-field for practicing. In fact, he was in the facility, I guess, getting some work in. I don't know what that is. No one really knows what that is, what kind of work are you doing with Josh Jacobs? For all I know, he could just be watching TV and getting treatment, getting physical therapy, icing whatever he needs to ice. I don't know. No one knows. It's all speculation. But what we do know is he wasn't on field. He wasn't on the on-field training. So like when you look at who's present and who's not, yes, he was present, but he wasn't on field practicing. So that's to me, that is a cause for concern because even though it's early, you kind of want to get those mental reps in. Because you guys remember right now, and you guys who follow me from covering the Niners, it's all about installs right now. It's not about like, oh man, who's standing out right now and OTAs. It's like, nah, dude. Like, I think that's ridiculous when I hear beat writers, oh man, this guy's really doing really well in shells. Like in shorts, it's like, dude, put the pads on. I don't judge anyone until I see them put the pads on, because it's really difficult to grade and to really analyze a player and just their shells and shorts. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, no, if they don't have the pads on, I'm just attendance. Yeah. Basically, I'm not going to throw out some false narratives of BS stuff because I want clicks. No, I've never been about that. Some people do it. I don't. I value your time. I hope you value my time. So that's why I'm just like, nah, swipe left. But when it comes down to it, I'm really eager to see how Josh Jacobs does once the pads do come on, to see how if he's going to be on the side field working out, or is he going to be actually on the field? Is he going to be on the side field working with the trainers one-on-one to kind of get those soft tissue injuries or whatever the case he has going on fixed out? Or is he going to be in practice, 7-on-7s, positional drills, and so forth? That's what I want to see. But that remains to be seen how that's going to play out. Then, if you guys follow my BEASTwriter Plus newsletter, and we got some comments here. Let's see what the comments are. CG Sports channel says, hi, BEASTwriter. What's going on, CG Sports Talk channel? You're always on here, and thank you so much. I appreciate the love. James Foster says, hey, we just started. You like leatherwork guard, left guard next to Miller. Great question. That's a great question, James Foster. And to answer your question, I would keep him on the right side because mainly he played right guard. And so I think for a young player, when you have a young player like that, who is kind of, how do I say that? How do I say this? An AFC scout told me, right? If he doesn't really have a home in terms of a position, that can be a cause for concern. Because when you're moving him around, he's learning different tendencies, right? Different techniques, different tendencies, how to leverage your splits a certain way. If it was me and I'm seeing it from a scouting perspective and a coaching perspective, I would keep him in at right guard because he's young. He's proven he can get it done. And that way, that's one less puzzle piece you have to fit inside that puzzle, right? Because you know what you're getting with Alex Leatherwood at right guard. You're getting a Pro Bowl talented right guard. That's what you're getting. You kick him into the left side, it's not as easy. That's just like in basketball. It's all about spacing, right? If you're right-handed, do you prefer being on the left wing or the right wing? For me, I always like being on the left wing because I was right-handed, right? So I liked using my shoulder to kind of body people up, but then and protect people from the ball, right? And then I can use my off arm to kind of shed people as well. So that's why I like to be on the left side. It's different from if you put me on the right side, I struggled, right? I struggled a little bit on the right side because I'd use my left hand. Obviously, I could use my left hand. I was a point guard, so you have to be able to use both. But if I had to pick and choose my spots, I'd rather be on the left side. And so that's why when people say, oh, it's easy, it's just guard. I mean, it's just learning the opposite. No, it's not. It's not as simple as that. And I talked to offensive linemen who are good friends of mine, played with the Niners, played with the Raiders, played with all these different NFL teams. One played with the Patriots. And all of them said the same thing. It's not as easy as a simple transition from playing right guard to left guard or right tackle from left tackle. Because outside of learning your techniques, mentally, it's everything is in reverse. So it's like you're learning something one way, and then all of a sudden you're learning it the other way. But yeah, if you're more acclimated to learning it the first way and then trying to transition into the second way, it's just it's too much going on. So I would plug him in at right guard. I know ideally you probably want to plug him in at left guard, but I would like to see him plugged in at right guard. Now he could play left guard. I don't care where he plays, but ideally in a perfect situation, a perfect scenario, obviously I'd want Alex Leatherwood to play right tackle and have a three-way camp battle on the interior for those two guard positions. And that could very well hold up, but I just think Alex Leatherwood would kick inside. I'd rather have Brandon Parker play right tackle. That's just my thinking. And then I would, on the left side, I would have Denzel Good. You know what you're getting with Denzel Good, right? People forget about Denzel Good coming off a torn ACL week 1, but Denzel Good was a good player. No pun intended. I also like Dylan Parham, and he can also play center, but he's not listed as a center. He's listed as a guard. I get it. But in the mind, he could. And so what that tells me is he's smart enough to play the piano on the three-way interior, center, right guard, left guard. So I would plug in Dylan Parham, see if he can play left guard once training camp opens up. And then you have Colton Miller, Dylan Parham, Andre James, Alex Leatherwood, and Brandon Parker. Those would be my fielding the best 5 in my estimation. Best case scenario that I want to have happen, if I was the Raiders coaching staff, I would want Alex Leatherwood at right tackle. And again, you can have a 3-way camp battle between Dylan Parham, Denzel Good, and of course, who's the other center? Or who's the other freaking guard that I was talking about? Dylan Parham, Denzel Good, and how come I'm drawing a blank here? Gosh, so many people I'm talking about. John Simpson. John Simpson started at left guard, so he would be an obvious selection there. But we just have to see how that one plays out. But I would like to see Alex Leatherwood at right guard. Now we're going to talk about Darren Waller, right? This guy is seeking a big money contract. If you guys follow me on the BEASTwriter Plus newsletter, talked about this. He's the 17th highest paid tight end right now. 17th highest paid tight end, Darren Waller. If I was Darren Waller, I'd be pissed off. Like, yo, if you look at the production, you look at the numbers, and I'm the 17th highest paid tight end, that is ridiculous. Like 7.6 million APY. Really, bro? George Kittle makes like 15 million a year. So you just can kind of see where the discrepancy lies. 16.5 million in guaranteed money. That's it. That's all he's getting. Both of those rankings are 17th highest paid in the NFL. Ridiculous. I ran the numbers in the BEASTwriter Plus newsletter, posted those numbers up. I'm going to shed some light on some numbers, right? Because I'm a very, what's the word? I'm very analytical, as Eric Wright would say. Former cornerback with the San Francisco 49ers. You're the analytical guy. I was like, yeah, I love analytics. Numbers don't lie. So since becoming the starter 3 years ago, Waller has ranked among the elite, right? Outside of George Kittle, outside of Travis Kelce, he ranked first in catches. All right. Last 3 years since becoming the starter, outside of Kittle and outside of Kelce, omit those two players, first in catches. First. All right. He ranked first in catches with 252. Furthermore, he ranked first in receiving yards with 3,006 receiving yards. 3,006 receiving yards. And then he had 14 touchdowns on top of that, which ranked third. All right. So if we put all that together, all that 3-year span of production together, and you're his agent, you're looking at this and like, he's the 17th highest paid tight end. But if you omit George Kittle and Travis Kelce, he ranks first in catches, first in receiving yards, and third in touchdowns, which, if you read my BEASTwriter Plus newsletter and talk about the valuation and evaluation, right? We talk about this. That's why I think he's should be making anywhere in the 13 to 14 million APY range. You guys know I hit on the Hunter Renfrow APY range and what he would get, right? Oh my gosh, how'd you know? It's like, dude, you just run the numbers, and if you provide good analysis, you grade the film, you can kind of figure out on different players, you kind of see where they should get the pay scale, right? So you look at what Darren Waller should be getting. And again, age is a factor. He's going to be turning 30. All right. So age is a factor. Also, you have to look at it from GM Dave Ziegler's standpoint and say, hey, look, well, he wasn't really the healthiest guy last year either. Right. Didn't he miss 6 games last year? Right. And he dropped some balls too. He had some mental lapses now. So it's not like it's a guarantee with Darren Waller, although I do believe it's top 5 tight end. I'm just saying. But if you want to nitpick the player, I mean, you can find flaws in any player's game, right? But when you take that into a fact, I think he's going to get anywhere in the 12 to 14 million APY range. I think that's his soft spot. I think that's what you're looking for if you're his agent. And that's right around, well, ironically, the Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry contracts, right? Right above Mike Gesicki, right? Right above Mike Gesicki. So talking about tight ends here, if you guys don't know, Rob Gronkowski announced his retirement for the second time. But getting back to Darren Waller, 30 years old. Another factor going against him is Foster Moreau or Foster Moreau. I don't know how you pronounce his last name, but Foster's there, right? I like Foster. I like him a lot. I think he can. I think that the Patriots. I think the Raiders like him a lot. He's also a 2019 draft pick, so he's in the contract year as well. If Foster gets some PT and has a breakout season, and Darren Waller has a breakout season, but not enough for them to warrant him giving him a long-term deal. Because if you remember, Darren Waller is 2 years away. He's not in the contract year. He's signed for 2 more years. So it's not like he's in the contract year. They don't have to get anything done with him right now anyways. So that's another thing going wrong for Darren Waller. But if you're getting underpaid up to this point and you're his agent, you're like, man, I need to get paid because my client is dominating this game. Well, we're going to have to see how that one plays out. But again, I think it's going to be anywhere in the 13 to 14 million APY. Pick your poison. I think Darren Waller is going to get paid handsomely if he has a breakout season. Again, Devontae Adams is there. Hunter Renfrow, the slot machine is there. And you don't think Darren Waller is going to see a lot of one-on-one coverages? Good luck, linebackers. Good luck, safeties. It's not going to look pretty down the seams. That's all I got to know. Down in red zone opportunities, Darren Waller will be a focal point for all you fantasy football owners. All right. Talking about fantasy here. Got to love it, right? Now, let's go ahead and talk about, on the flip side of that, we're going to talk about a little bit about the 3-4 scheme that they're transitioning under DC Patrick Graham. All right. PG, DC. DC, PG. All right. So Patrick Graham is going to solidify a 3-4 front. And you need 2 gap space eaters to play that 34 front. You simply cannot go into a new year without having the right personnel to play a 34 base defense. And again, especially when it comes to a 34 base, you need 2 gap space eaters who can 2 gap. All right. Stack and shed with the best of them, but then also be consistent enough to take on double teams and win those double teams. Hold up and be strong enough at the point of attack. Don't give any ground off the grass. Don't give up your grass, right? As a scout would say, right? Don't get thrown off your grass. Hold your ground. Stack and shed. Push them back. Impose your will down in the trenches. That's why you saw the Raiders and GM Dave Ziegler, again, doing a very good job getting the players re-signed and getting the right players drafted under that scheme, right? You have Neil Farrell, right? And my good friend Andre Carter, Coach Neil Farrell at LSU. Talked to him one-on-one about it. He's going to be hopping on the DOB show, and we're working out a scheduling time for him to hop on as well. But he called him a lighter Vince Wilfork, and he would know. He played with Vince Wilfork with the New England Patriots. He also played for Patrick Graham, so he understands exactly the Patriot way. He says, I'm not joking. My boy AC says Neil Farrell is a lighter Vince Wilfork. And in my exclusive BEASTwriter Plus newsletter, this is in the description box below. You guys can subscribe to that. I outlined everything there. It's all there. Game film is all there. Vince Wilfork is going to be a beast. Vince Wilfork. Neil Farrell is going to be a beast, according to Andre Carter. Smart, coachable, gets it. He calls him the best LSU defensive lineman coming out. And one thing I liked about Neil Farrell was his get off. For a nose tackle, you don't really talk about get off for a nose tackle because usually they're bigger. They're a little bit more sluggish. But man, his get off is legit. I love his get off. Just go back to the Alabama game. Killed my team. Single-handedly just murdered my team. Neil Farrell, real deal. And then they also got Bilal Nichols, again, coming from that 34 base defense that they're transitioning to. One of the most underrated pickups. I like Tyler Lancaster. I like Vernon Butler. Again, these are guys who are scheme fit, who can 2-gap and spacey. And they're not going to rack up double-digit sacks. That's not their job. Their job is to occupy as much space as possible, freeing up the second-level backers like Divine Diablo, like Denzel Perryman, right? Who I love Denzel Perryman as a 2-down thumper. Liability and pass coverage, it's okay. Denzel Perryman, I can live and die with that because you are a beast when it comes to stopping the run. Love you. Max Crosby, love him. Chandler Jones, like him too, as an edge rusher. Now run support, but you don't pay him to stop the run. You pay him to rush the passer. You team those 2 guys up. What does that leave Clelin Ferrell, the number 4th overall pick in the 2019 NFL draft? Again, that's another pick I criticized in real time. I said, man, this guy is not going to be good because he's scheme dependent. And now they're transitioning to a 34 base from a 43 front. And now you're going to try to convert him into 2-point stance as a outside linebacker when you already signed big money to Chandler Jones and now Max Crosby. What realistically are you going to be getting in Clelin Ferrell? This is not a shit at Clinton. I'm just saying it logically. What's the snap count going to look like? How many opportunities is he really going to get in a contract year to really prove to the other 31 other NFL teams that he's not a first round bust? Because it ain't going to be in Las Vegas. I'll tell you that. You don't go and re-sign a player, former first round pick, who, by the way, you didn't draft him. That's a Mike Mayock, John Gruden regime, to be a insurance policy on the second team. You just don't do that. And so when I run the grades on Clelin Ferrell, which is, I mean, he was a healthy scratch at times last year, I don't see enough. Now, he's a smart player. He's a good locker room guy. I just don't see enough on-field production in the limited snaps I did play in for me to warrant that he's going to get a contract extension in with the Las Vegas Raiders being in the contract here. I just don't see it. Now, if he miraculously picks up, 8 sacks in 3 seasons, that's all you got to say. 8 sacks in 3 seasons. And forget the sack numbers, because, again, I'm not a box score reader. We talked about this in the BWF and the DOB. Look at the quarterback pressure rate as well. It's not very high. It's just not very high. So I don't see where he's going to end up next year. But I can almost, if I was a betting man, we're in Vegas, I'm betting that he ain't going to be in Vegas after this year, unless he has some kind of unforeseen breakout season, which wouldn't be out of the ordinary. We see a lot of players have breakout years and contract years all of a sudden, and then revert back to their former self because they got paid. That's just how it is. That's just how it is, guys. So Clelin Ferrell, again, he's not really a scheme diverse type of a guy. And if he's struggling in a 4-3, and now he's converting to a 34 base, and that's not his scheme fit, sorry, man, but you're on the outside looking in. I think next year they're going to be looking in for another third, possibly like another young edge rusher. I just don't see how Clelin Ferrell can come and turn around from this and make it with the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, it could happen. I just don't see it happening. I just don't see that happening. So with that being said, there's a lot of different things. Let me get to some of your questions on Facebook. There's a lot of questions on Facebook here. If you guys aren't in my Facebook group or my Facebook page, it's all my social medias in the description box below. Just go ahead and you guys can follow us on all social media outlets. You guys can also be invited to our exclusive Facebook group as well. A lot of stuff going on, but let's just talk about it for a little bit. We talked about Trayvon Mullen, by the way. I talked about Trayvon Mullen on my live stream, last live stream, but I want to talk to you about Trayvon Mullen because I graded every single snap of him before his injury in 2021, right? This is what I said in the Aloha kickoff question, right? As in 2019, the Raiders drafted Trayvon Mullen, hoping he would be a foundational core player beyond his rookie contract. Fast forward to today, and Mullen finds himself playing in a contract year, while others in his rookie class got paid. Max Crosby, Hunter Renfrow, yada, yada, yada. To say that Mullen is on the coach's buy or sell list for 2023 is an understatement. Last year, Mullen was hit with the injury bug that abruptly ended his 2021 season. He played extremely well and poised for a breakout season, but was unable to stay on the field. Furthermore, I said this is my analysis. Consistency is key in the NFL, right? It is. You have to be consistent in the NFL. You have to be able to do it consistently. I see the height, weight, speed, change of direction, the hip flexors, deep speed to pattern match downfield. I see all that stuff. That's all great, right? To stop the top team wide receivers downfield. The question comes down to his inability to break off his stem break off his the depth of his drop. When he's dropping back in coverage, he's not as quick, and that leads to easy catches being made in front of him. So the awareness is there, but can he be consistent? Once he drops his depth, can he close on the ball in a hurry at the catch point? That's something that I want to see from Trayvon Mullen in 2022. Now, Trayvon Mullen, to me, again, I think he has Pro Bowl potential. I like this kid a lot, but can he stay healthy? That's another question we have to ask ourselves with a lot of NFL players, right? On your favorite NFL team. You can go down the list. Happens every year. Oh, this guy's talented, but can he stay on the field? I don't know. But I do think that they're trending in the right direction because they have defensive back coach Chris Ash there. I think Chris Ash is a great coach. I think he's going to do well for the Las Vegas Raiders. I think he can really help turn around some of these young core players like Amik Robertson. This guy is diminutive in size, yet shifty. And again, he has another problem. his size is getting the best of him. I mean, I'm grading film. I see Amik Robinson getting beat for touchdowns. I can see him getting beat for balls that should be pass breakups. I like Amik Robinson, for the record. I like Amik Robinson coming out of La Tech, and I still like him. I think he'd be a strong special teams core type of player. But he has to be able to, for his size, I mean, he's not the tallest guy. He has to be able to fight for those 50-50 balls at the catch point. And hopefully Amik Robinson can get it done. I'm confident that he has the potential to get it done. But the question is, will he get it done? Will he get it done? So that's the only thing I have with him. But getting back to Trayvon Mullen, in 37 regular season games dating back to 2019, Mullen has recorded 115 solo tackles, 4 interceptions, and 28 pass breakups. That's not bad production, guys. I've seen a lot worse. We all seen a lot worse, right? So that's when it comes to Trayvon Mullen, I think it's not as bad as people make it out to see. And if you read some of the Facebook groups and some of the people, some guy, I'm not going to name the guy in the Facebook group, he sold that Trayvon Mullen is horrible. He's like, oh man, he can't keep up with the bigger wide receivers. I'm thinking to myself, what kind of game are you watching, Bill? Like, oh, I just said his name. But what kind of game are you watching? That's all I gotta say. Like, are you grading the snap or are you just watching the highlights? Like, what are you doing? Was it a cover 3? Like, was it a press bail technique that I was playing? What's the pre-snap leverage that I was playing? Like, was he beat? Was that even his assignment? Or was it kind of like in defensive run support? Was it a gap replace type situation? I mean, you really need to understand the concepts in order to formulate that analysis. And so I wasn't going to go in and debate with this guy, but I was just like, nah, man, it's not worth my time. It's not worth my time. Trayvon Mullen's a real deal. I like Trayvon Mullen, but can he stay healthy? Can he stay healthy, and can he break on the ball in a timely manner? Those are some things that I need to see. He does have the patient feet. He does stay square at the line of scrimmage. I love his center of gravity. I like how he doesn't open his hips up too early. These are things that you look for in a boundary cornerback, right? These are things that you all look for in terms of fundamentals. Going back to the Raider way, you have to have strong fundamentals, and you have to be mentally tough up here. Physically, it's great, but you have to be mentally. This is all the Raider way. I talked about this in the newsletter. I mean, I could talk about the Raider way to a T because I've been following the Patriots since I was a kid. In fact, the first year, even before Bill Belichick, I was following the Patriots, and they were one of my favorite teams to watch, dating back to the Terry Glenn days. Not joking. It was the Niners and it was the New England Patriots, and I loved watching both those teams. Andy Katzenmoyer. You guys remember Andy Katzenmoyer? For all you guys know who Andy Katzenmoyer is? I think it was number 45, if I'm not mistaken, Andy Katzenmoyer. They had a lot of good players back then. But, yeah. Love the Patriots growing up. And then when Bill Belichick took over the team, I'm not a bandwagon fan. I just love football in general. But Patriots were one of the top 5 teams that I always liked watching. I would say they were there. Raiders were obviously one. I don't know. I just liked watching the Raiders. Niners, obviously. Niners were one. Patriots were one. What are the? I liked watching the New York Jets. They were always fun to watch. Wayne Corbett, Keyshawn Johnson. That was it. Jumbo Elliott. You guys remember Jumbo Elliott? Kevin Mawai. Man, we can go back. Who else did they have during that time frame? Otis Smith. You guys remember Otis Smith, number 45? Otis Smith, cornerback. Then he went on to play with the New England Patriots. I think he was on the New England Patriots before that, and then Bill Belichick brought him over. If I'm not mistaken, the Big Tuna. Who else was there during that time? Wayne Corbett was a beast. He wore no gloves. And I believe he also came out of Hofstra, right? Didn't Wayne Corbett come out of Hofstra too? That program no longer exists, by the way, which is unfortunate because there's a lot of good players that came out of that school. Dave Fiore came out of Hofstra, number 74, sprung Garrison Hearst against the New York Jets for that 98-yard overtime run by Garrison Hearst. I was at that game, front row and center on the 20-yard line. Met Dave Fiore. Just so happened to be on NBC Bay Area News when they were interviewing me. Scott Budman was there and interviewing me before I made it big with the Niners, and we were down in Campbell, and I saw Dave Fiore. Like, he wasn't wearing Niner stuff. He was retired, he was long gone retired, and he was like, I was like, hey, Scott, do you know who that is? And Scott's like, man, I was like, no, that's just a regular guy. I was like, no, that's Dave Fiore. He's like, who? I was like, that's Dave Fiore. He's like, how do you know that? I was like, dude, I know everyone. So I went to Dave Fiore. We had a conversation over coffee, our cup of Joe, and it was really cool to see. But Dave Fiore was a guy who came out of Hofstra too. Lance Schulters, didn't he come out of Hofstra? Lance Schulters, number 30. God, that guy could hit. Before Dante Whitner was Lance Schulters, I'm telling you. Grand Rise said the 49ers would sign Farrell. The 49ers would sign Farrell. So you think the 49ers would sign Farrell? Yeah, you guys can have him. I mean, the Niners could have signed. You guys can get Clelin Ferrell. I could see Clelin Ferrell being a 4-3 fit. So if you just want him as a situational pass rusher, like an Arden Key type of guy, yeah. I mean, I guess he would be serviceable. He'll get you like 4 to 5 sacks a year, maybe 5 to 6 in 1 year, and then get paid like Arden Key did. But I don't see him being anything special, is what I'm trying to say. Now, that's nothing against Clelin Ferrell. I just haven't seen. I mean, there's a lot of people that share that same mindset. But Clelin Ferrell to the Niners, have at it, man. Be my guest. Go to the Niners in that 4-3 base defense and that wide 9, and let's see how you do. I mean, all the best to Clelin Ferrell on the Niners. If you guys want him, take him. I like Clelin Ferrell. That's not to say I don't like Clelin Ferrell. I think he's a great locker room guy. Brings a great locker room presence. But it's not going to be in Vegas, especially with Chandler Jones and Max Crosby there. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. There's no way it's going to happen. Now watch it happen. Oh, BEASTwriter, you said it's a Beast receipt, man. You said that Clelin Ferrell was going to get re-signed in 2020, and he's back with the Las Vegas Raiders. I was like, oh yeah, well, I can't foresee Chandler Jones going down to a season-ending injury where he tore his ACL, or knock on wood, it's not going to happen. But an unforeseen injury, of course, yes, they might bring back Clelin Ferrell. But we don't know. We don't know how this, all things created equal right now. I just don't see Clelin Ferrell returning. I just don't see him returning. Same thing with Jonathan Abram, right? Ran grades on Jonathan Abram. People saying, oh, he's great in run support. But the guy takes port angles in run support. And if you're looking at the Raider way, you got to be a sound tackler in open space. Abram also uses his shoulder a lot and not using fundamental. He doesn't see what he hits, right? If you played football, you know what I mean, right? Heads up, stay square, wrap up, squeeze through the thighs, all that. Attack the near hip of the ball carrier, using the sideline as an extra defense. All right, we can talk about that all we want, right? But you don't see it with Jonathan Abram sometimes. And if you're the last line of defense, whether it be a strong safety, right? And let's say you're playing a cover 3 sky or something, and you're rolling back and you're rotating back, and Trevon Moehrig is coming up defending the curl hook. You better be able to take a proper angle on the ball carrier. Otherwise, it's going to go for a 75-yard home run. That's all I got to say. I'm sure the coaching staff and the scouting department's looking at that and like, yeah, the guy can hit, but can he stay on the field? Can he be a sure tackler consistency? Can we teach him the fundamentals of the hawk tackle, right? If you guys don't know what the hawk tackle, made famous by Rocky Seto. And you guys are, who's Rocky Seto? Go look him up. Power to the Japanese people. Rocky Seto invented the hawk tackle. Eyes through the thighs. How do I know about this? Well, my cousin is, I think, related to him or something. So it's kind of like that. But yeah, go look it up. It's all about fundamentals. Here we go, talking about the Raiders. We can talk about the Niners right now if we want to, but send me those super chat and super stickers. I'm open. Let's open up the hotline. We can talk about anything. Grand Riser, thank you so much for chiming in. I could see Farrell going to the San Francisco 49ers. I'm not necessarily saying that Farrell's a bad player. I think he could be a good player, but is he going to be like a great player? I just don't see that. No, I don't see it. I just don't see it. All right, so let's get some of your other questions going on Facebook. We have a lot of questions. I'm in a lot of Facebook groups. You guys had a lot of questions for me, or leaving a lot of comments, I should say, which is good engagement. We have a question from Donna. Donna says, what are your thoughts on Max Crosby and Chandler Jones in 2022? Well, I think anybody who talks about the AFC West in general when it comes to Las Vegas Raiders and their pass rush, anything less than 20 combined sacks from that unit, from those two players, would be a miss, in my opinion. Because again, you drafted Chandler Jones, and I said it earlier, not to stop the run, but to rush the passer. And again, I don't care about the sack numbers, but again, if you're kind of looking at it from that type of lens, I guess you would say, at least I want to see a high pressure rate, right? So you look, I'm not going to go into details of my algorithm on the pressure rate, but I want to see a high pressure rate from Max Crosby and Chandler Jones because they both got paid, and they got paid handsomely. Now, Max Crosby to me has a nonstop motor, graded every single snap of him. I'm really impressed with Max Crosby. I think he's well deserved. The heart and soul of that defense, arguably. The guy reminds me a lot of, not on the level in terms of play or skill set, because that would be, they play two vastly different positions, but I would say Justin Smith in terms of the motor, in terms of the hustle. That's what I see in Max Crosby when it comes to his game. That's one thing that I really like about Max Crosby and really covet about Max Crosby's game. If you're going to evaluate the player and describe him in one word, if you were to ask me, describe Max Crosby in one word, I would just say heart. The kid has heart. He plays with heart. You can't coach heart. And so anybody who plays the game, that no bigger compliment than the guy has heart, right? Jim Harbaugh used to say this when I covered him with the San Francisco 49ers, when we described football players. He says, well, this guy, is he a strong safety or is he a cornerback? And Jim Harbaugh would just go, he's a football player, right? That's another compliment. But when you ask me to describe Max Crosby in one game, it would be heart. It would be heart. He has the heart of a lion, and the guy never gives up on any given play. And that's all you can ask for, is 110% effort on every given down. Every given down. Not any given down. Every given down. Every down, he's giving it his all. And I think that's all you can ask for from a coaching staff and a coaching perspective, because when you see that, it's going to rub players the right way and saying, hey, look, Max Crosby's running 50 yards down the field to make a play on a ball carrier when I was on the strong side of the formation and I was only 30 yards away, but yet he came and made a play and he was 20 yards behind me. Right? These are things that you look for, especially when you watch all 22 coaches film, is you see the hustle. I see guys taking plays off. I'm not going to name someone. Well, I did in my grading system. I'm like, this guy's taking plays, and I showed you guys on film. This guy's taking the plays off. Look. You notice based on the down and distance how his body language, how he's giving up on the play, how he knows it's a run, and you can kind of see where he's kind of giving up on the play. You can tell, hands on the hips to tell, right? Is his knuckles white down in the trenches? Is he going to go for? I mean, these are like poker tells, right? And so when you look at these things and you look at the film, it's like, this guy may not have heart. He may not be coachable. Grand Riser says, how do you feel about the 49ers roster going into the 2022 season? My man, Grand Riser, this is a great question, and I will say the offensive line is going to be in trouble. If you remember, which you do, I highly criticized the Aaron Banks draft pick. I said when they drafted him, the guy's tailor-made for a power-based run scheme. In real time, we're doing the live stream. I said, Aaron Banks is not a scheme fit for the zone blocking scheme. I'll tell you that much. And he's going to be a healthy scratch once the season begins. And then people, oh, you know what PFF says? He has a great pass blocking win rate. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't use PFF grades. I have the BWF grading system. So there's that. And I said, keep the receipts and we'll come back to it. All those people that said that, where are they now? All I hear is crickets. All I hear is crickets. When it comes to the 49ers offensive line, and you see Alex Mack's now retiring, right? Alex Mack retired. And again, you have Laken Tomlinson now with the New York Jets. So really, what do you have there? You just have Trent Williams, Silverback, who, by the way, is a future Hall of Famer, no doubt about it. But outside of that, what really do you have? Can you really count on right tackle Mike McGlinchey to be the future right tackle? Can you really count on Daniel Brunskill to solidify that interior guard position? I mean, realistically, where are they? Can you really count on Aaron Banks, who was a healthy scratch last year, with the same players that were playing in front of him this year, to really come up and be a solidified, serviceable starter with basically a rookie quarterback behind center? I think that's now. Granted, they have Kyle Shanahan, so they can kind of Shanahan, again, in my opinion, arguably the best offensive genius in the entire NFL. I love Kyle Shanahan. He knows how to scheme up players and put them in the best position to make plays. So he will do that. But I mean, there's a lot of good defensive coordinators too, like Brandon Staley, right? Is he going to be like, hey, like I know what Kyle Shanahan's going to do, so we're going to do this, and so you're going to see that with a lot of these DCs now. But it's a game of, if you're playing a game of checkers and a game of chess, you're going to fail. It's going to be checkmate all day, every day. But when it comes to Kyle Shanahan, I think he's going to do well. But again, you can only do so much. I always say this: coaches coach and players play. You can put your players in the best position to make plays, but it's up to the players once they're in those positions to execute on those plays. And so if you don't have the personnel to on the field to get it done, it doesn't matter how well you coach those guys. If they're not good enough, they're not going to get it done. So I think the offensive line is in trouble, and that's going to have a domino effect. That's all I got to say. Now, I'm not saying the Niners are going to struggle in terms of not make the playoffs. And no, they're still going to be playoff team, of course. Like, they're still going to be in the thick of it. But when you take that into account, and their secondary is, there's a lot of holes. There's a lot of holes that needs to be fixed. Jaquiski Tartan and now off to the Philadelphia Eagles. Can you count on Talanoa Hufanga to step in? Can you count on some of these younger guys to step in and be serviceable starters, right? Good depth. Depth is one thing, but you need good depth, right? Behind them. Like we talked about with my man Randy Mueller on here a lot of times, and we talked about depth. 2000 GM of the year with the New Orleans Saints, exec with the Seattle Seahawks before that, and obviously the GM of the Miami Dolphins, right? We talked about this, right? It doesn't matter what kind of depth you have to have good depth behind, right? Anyone can name players off a roster. I mean, anyone can play a game of Madden and be like, oh, let's just start naming players off a roster, like Chris Ruman or like from Texas A&M, or like we can talk about Jason Webster from Texas A&M, number 36, right? Before that, number 39, right? We can talk about, I can talk about players from the 49ers from the early, R.W. McQuarters, number 21, right? From Oklahoma State. Rashawn Woods, another one, number 81, right? From Oklahoma State. We can talk about all these players, right? Quam Harris, number 77 from Stanford. Like, woo. Like, it don't matter, dude. Like, are these players good? Like, are they good enough to hold up for a 2-3 game stretch? Consistency is key in the NFL, and I'd be very, very wary of where they're. Now, I like that O'Neal kid, graded him, because the only reason I graded that Texas A&M kid, O'Neal, is because I was grading DeMarvin Leal. And DeMarvin Leal, again, you guys see my Beast receipts, one of the cleanest prospects in the entire draft class. I love DeMarvin Leal coming out, graded him for the last 2 years. And DeMarvin Leal, I'm telling you, they got to then you go to the Steelers. I think the Steelers got to steal with DeMarvin Leal. Steelers always do well. GM Kevin Colbert, not a GM anymore. Omar Khan taking over, but the Steelers scouting department just win. George Pickens, really? Like, that's a good pickup. Like, if you look for on-field talent. Now we can talk about the water bottle incident. We talk, if you guys don't know about the water bottle incident, he poured water on a player on the sidelines, which is kind of like, why would you do that? But George Pickens, he can be a Pro Bowl player. I mean, they just find talent, man, and they play the risk versus reward game. And if they feel like they have the coaching staff and the support system around a troubled player coming in who comes in with red flags, and they think they have a strong enough locker room that player can hold up and really shine. Now, could that happen in Vegas? I mean, there's all these distractions in Vegas. It makes it much harder. But in Pittsburgh, no offense to Pittsburgh fans, but what is there to do really in Pittsburgh? Or what is there really to do in Green Bay? You really can't get in trouble. There's really nothing to do over there, right? So as opposed to like Vegas or like the Bay Area, right? Or like New York, right? A big market like that. I just don't see. I think it's a good fit for George Pickens coming out of Georgia. I think he's going to be. I mean, this kid's good. Like, he's a first-round pick. I tweeted that out 2 years ago. But the guy's a first-round pick. The Steelers they had one hell of a draft, dude. Outside of Kenny Pickett. I didn't like that pick, Kenny Pickett. I know they needed a quarterback. I would rather have Jimmy Garoppolo than Kenny Pickett. I would rather them at 20 select the best player available than go after a guy like Kenny Pickett. Now watch Kenny Pickett be an all-pro player, but I said it once, I said it twice. I didn't have a round 2 grade on any of these quarterbacks coming out, to be honest with you. And I said I had a round 3 grade at the earliest. But Kenny Pickett, I guess he's the chosen one. He's the chosen one. All right, I think that's going to wrap it up for this live stream. I hope you guys liked what I had to say. If you did, please hit the subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner of your screen as you stay up to date on all things Beast in real time. Also, if you are new to subscribing to my channel or just watching this on Facebook or on YouTube as you are, what other social media? Twitch. I'm on Twitch now. I'm on TikTok. Be sure to tell all your family and friends as the DOB keeps hot every day here on the YouTube channel. And also, we are going to have my man, Vinny Bonsignore, tomorrow here at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So for all you Raider Nation out there, you guys are going to want to tune in to see what he has to say because he's going to provide some exclusive analysis that you can't get anywhere else except here on the DOB tomorrow at 12. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I hope everyone had a fun and safe, was it Juneteenth yesterday? And Warriors Parade. That was fun. All my friends went to the Warriors Parade. I didn't go to the Warriors Parade, but I heard that was lit. From the TV, it looked like it was lit. But then some of my friends who went to Lake Merritt said that it should be at Lake Merritt next year or the next time they win because that was better than having it in the city. And I was like, I don't know. I have nothing to compare to. So anyways, that's for a different story. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. I hope you guys had a nice Taco Tuesday. I'll be back on here tomorrow for Wednesday with my man, Vinny B. Keep it hot here in the DOB. That's it for now. BEASTwriter out.